what is going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen of all ages. We are here, XP Share episode 12. What is good? We got the usual Juice Wayne up top. Kyle, I keep going the wrong way. Kyle's back with us today. And we are joined today by the one and only Rue. How you doing, boys?
What's good?
Living.
We all living?
Man. Chilling.
Good old
reeling
Sunday.
from that DJ pre-show that touched my soul.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Always glad to be of service, guys. Always glad. For you guys, anything.
I feel lifted. I am lifted. Anyway, we got a great show for you guys today. Rue wanted to bring him on for a while now. FPS connoisseur, the proiest of gamers.
A guru, even.
A guru. Hey!
I've been referred to as the guru.
Yo, I like that, actually. So, without further ado, we're just going to let Rue just kind of splurge about his amazing career that he's been through.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'd love to. I love talking about myself. So, I'm a reformed console player. Started out in Apex Legends as my first professional game. I did compete in Call of Duty back in the day. Game battles, MLG circuit, small stuff like that. Definitely made a buck or two there, but overall nothing really popped off. No team signings, no autographs yet. Took a little break from gaming, played some Overwatch, moved into Fortnite when it released. I think everyone kind of did. And Fortnite was a good time, but I personally dislike third-person shooters to a degree that I can't put into words without getting completely suspended from the internet. And so as soon as Fortnite was kind of drying up for me, I heard about this new shooter, Apex. I joined on the second day of its release. I believe it was September 2019. And from there, man, it's pretty much... it's all history, you know what I mean? Like we hit the ground running, fried pretty much everyone in my way on console. As soon as ranked came out, Apex Predator back to back. Told my girlfriend give me a year. She was working 2 jobs at the time to make sure I could full-time game, and I told her give me a year. I'm gonna post content for the first time in my life. A lot of people refer to me as like an offline warrior, if you will. I never really posted anything. Had no social media presence whatsoever. Still pretty much don't. I told her, give me a year, and about 8 months in, a team called We Gang, a couple of awesome guys, Fiasco, Shape 2, and Odin, they hit me up on off of Instagram posts and said, hey man, we want to play with you in the ALGS. It's been announced, it's PC only. And so I hit up a buddy of mine in Oregon. He let me buy a PC real cheap, talking $600, 6 payments of $100. And he shipped that bad boy out to me, and I played with controller for the first couple tournaments, and then took a little time off of Apex, played mouse and keyboard on a Valorant beta back when it was in closed beta or whatever. Basically as soon as I got the grips of mouse and keyboard to any competent level, I was itching to get back to Apex. So from there, we're been mouse and keyboard now for, I guess, almost 3 years. I would say officially giving it a good go at things for 2.5 years. Aim training, mechanics training, videos, such things like that. We competed from season 2 all the way to season 12 in Apex. And then, after almost 7,000 hours in the game, my heart gave out. And I couldn't do it anymore. I needed a change. Also, I think the environment itself in Apex kind of changed for the worse, in my eyes. That is.
That's a lot statement.
I try not to be mean about it, but I could write a TED talk on why Respawn shouldn't be allowed to make another game if they're attached to EA. But hey, here we are. But yeah.
And now we're Counterstrike 2 gamers, huh?
Yeah, well, Counterstrike, I've never touched it until about 3 months ago. And if I had earlier in my life, I probably would never play a different game. But I mean, before Counterstrike, it was. I mean, I got a little list here just to make sure I actually had everything written down. So after Apex, I went into Gundam Evolution. I competed. You could say professionally. There wasn't a huge scene yet, but we were a top 7 team in the world for the time that I competed. Went into Overwatch 2 after Gundam. Then Titanfall 2. I played the entire Doom franchise on stream. Moved into Quake Champions after that for the PvP aspect of it. Got my butt kicked around by some people older than my parents. Then moved into Diabolical, which is another arena shooter. Beautiful game. Doesn't have a huge support system behind it with the player base. Basically, you're looking at like Quake Live, Diabolical, and Quake Champions all sharing the same like 1,500 players. Realistically, they're all like hardcore AFPS players. They don't like anything else, and if you go into their servers, they will teach you a thing or two while raising 3 kids. Battlefield 5. I played 2042, and then I pretty much have finally landed on CS as a game I'm going to fully commit to in terms of like my skill and improvement. Yeah, here we are. So CS2 released, like right as I get into CS. So
Yeah, right.
Pretty great timing in my opinion, but still a lot of things to learn. So
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of that I didn't even know of. Jesus.
Yeah, same. I didn't realize you
Um.
played so many games in that, like on that level as well.
Oh, he
yeah, I
was
mean,
everywhere.
that's the beautiful thing about mouse and keyboard, man. Like you don't have to rely on the game's engine and the software within it to really dictate your play style. Once you have that
Yeah.
mouse control down, I can play Cyberpunk at the same level I played Apex. You know what I mean? Like I'm frying NPCs. Like so, once you develop the aim mechanics and the mouse control, you can really just kind of play anything you want, and it's just all natural skill at that point, and all just kind of it allows you to have a lot of skill expression. I think is what's important.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Fucking
how
A.
was the transition for you between, um, I guess Apex and Quake going into a tactical shooter like CS?
Sure. So I think the hardest transition was probably Apex to Gundam for me. Apex, I was in a really big community. Everyone kind of knew of me. Had a lot of friends. Stream was popping. Like everything was going good. I swapped games to Gundam, and I think we all know how it goes when you're known for one game and then you swap to a different game. Some people
Yeah.
disappear, community kind of gets a little quieter around you. I'm also not the biggest anime person, and spoiler alert: if you're not into anime, Gundam is not your game. You will not make a lot of friends, and so I basically went from like buttloads of friends around me to like kind of feeling like I was on an island. I got pretty depressed, major burnout. Had to take like a month or two, or a month off of gaming completely. Just did not mentally handle that well, but I think it made me stronger in the long run. Swapping away from Gundam really helped me. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I may have gone from Gundam to maybe Battlefield 5, if I'm not mistaken, or Battlefield 5 to Gundam. I can't remember, but I know that going to the Battlefield scene and reconnecting with a lot of people that I kind of was acquaintances with via the Apex scene really helped. So. But I mean, the Quake transition into CS. I mean, CS is not, attack shooter is nothing like any of those other games that I've
Yeah.
touched. Um,
Yeah.
but I think I'm so in that like the process of developing mouse control and working on my mechanics. Like once you hit such a high level in certain games, like you kind of start having to look for things to work on instead of just mastering those skills you already have. And I think that adding a lot of those new counter strafing, surf, B-hop mechanics. Even though it's Source Engine, it's still very much different overall. Like just the timing of things, map control, game sense, all these different things that you have to put into just like not only just shooting the enemy, right? Like it's almost like you're expected to get the kill in CS, but you have to get that kill by doing other things besides just aiming at their head.
Mhm.
Like I think it's important to note that the best aimers in the game of all time have never been the number one player in the game ever. So um, it just comes down to a lot of different things. So I think that really invigorates my brain to get better every day. I have things to work on. I have this checklist of goals, which really helps me as a person.
Mm-hmm. So what's your MMR right
Interesting.
now on CS2?
Oh, MMR CS2 wise, so I like to say I soloed to essentially global in CS:GO. Unfortunately, during my time of solo queuing the rank system, CS2 was released, and then anyone that gave a crap about anything CS rank wise, they went to CS2. I felt major input delay and a lot of problems within the game itself during the beta, so I kind of stayed on CS:GO, which allowed me to fight basically cheaters and just scumlords of the game all day long instead of people that cared. I'd get a lot of griefers, a lot of people that just kind of wanted to goof around and have fun in ranked when I was trying to win. So it kind of stalled my progress really hard. But right now in CS2, I think I'm 7,800 Premier, but I haven't played a single game since my placements. So I know that I can hit 10,000 without any doubt. And then from there, it's kind of a question mark as to how far I can go as a solo queue. But the game is definitely team oriented, but I'm just someone that enjoys playing by myself a lot of the time and just working on what I need to work on without the pressure of those around me.
Hell yeah.
I feel that. That's one thing I can't really get into is I can't play an FPS solo anymore. I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah. It's tough.
Can't do it.
So hard.
It's about the social aspect for me, man. I
Yeah.
used to be a huge comp player. If I'm kind of the same way you're talking about with CS and Valorant. If I really like head down, put myself into Valorant, played ranked or comp or whatever, I could end up, fucking real high on that leaderboard, whatever else. But I had a moment when I was working my way through that back when the game came out where I was like, I'm just not having fun doing this.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's all social for me. Can't do
Yeah.
it anymore.
I mean, if you're not having fun, there's no sense in doing it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of my fun comes from seeing my own improvements. But
Yeah.
there is definitely an aspect of me that's like, hey, if you join a team, just looking for a team, and then someone like invites you, how much are you going to be able to hold up your end right now as a newer player to CS? Like, these are people that have been playing CS like over half my life.
Since
Source
I
1.6. Yeah, like I haven't touched the game until 3 months ago, and these guys are like, "Yeah, I got 12,000 hours. I've been playing like since 1994." Like it's just it's like it's a whole different level of it. It's like Quake, really. But Quake is such a 1v1 aspect that you'll just get dominated in an entirely different, humbling way than any other game. But with CS, I just want to make sure that I can be as good of a teammate as I can be when I need to be. And I think that by solo queuing, it really helps me isolate those problems. So,
Yeah.
True that.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is usually when it comes to FPSs in a group setting, I'm usually not the strongest player. So I'm just like I'm playing with it, like when it comes to CS2, playing with guys like 5-6K MMR and comp, and I'm just sitting here like, yo, I'm unranked. I'm going 3-10 on the bottom of the board right now. Like, I don't know what you guys want me to do.
Yeah, GD's like, I just figured out how to take the safety off. What the fuck are y'all talking about?
Like, I could hold this angle all day, but there's no chance I'm going to get a kill. Like, you got.
yeah.
That's
what
You guys got this.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. That's what's so interesting about like I've obviously as a solo queue person, like I've met those people that are similar to what you're describing. And like I think it's really important to just reinstill the confidence into them. Like, hey, like you're having a bad game, we don't care. Like there's ways that we can play around someone not doing the greatest and still have good outcomes. Like for example, like you always hear the term baiting in CS. Like baiting, I think, is a term that is a pretty big blanket term that people use to just kind of. Lots of times it's like have someone walk out, or like especially if you're solo queue, like if you don't know how your teammates play, and then like you see someone like get killed near you, you're like, okay, well that guy died from here, like noted for myself.
Yeah.
But like if you have someone talking and they're bottom of the leaderboard and they're like, man, I'm just not having a good game, like you can tell them, hey, like you need to entry, like just go in first, I will be right behind you. As soon as you die, I'm trading your kill. Boom, 4v4. We've gotten the worst player off of our team out in a positive way for the team, and now it's more than likely we can make something happen with that, which is super fun to like try and implement on the go with randoms, so you just got to make sure they stay confident, man. The worse they feel, the worse they're going to play. And like a lot of times, you get these toxic individuals that are like, man, you got 2 kills. Like, what are you doing? Yada, yada. Like, and that just, it never helps anyone, man. You got to be positive. You just have to stay positive in the game. And unfortunately, CS isn't the most positive community. It's like League. It's like if someone booted up League for the first time and like went bot lane with some character that doesn't go bot lane, like there's no way someone in chat is not going to be like, hey, you're a fucking idiot. Like, and then, then they're already like hating the new game they're trying to learn. So you just gotta stay positive.
My shittiest thing is like, especially when it comes to tactical shooters, like CS and sometimes Apex. Like I'll try to fucking IGL sometimes.
Mhm.
In aspects of CS2, it's like I'm sitting here calling, all right, let's 5-man A, let's fucking split, let's just play for picks, whatever. And then 5 rounds in, I'm sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard, and some little shitbag's going like, "Why the fuck we listening to a guy who's going blah 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 blah?" I'm like, because we're winning rounds. Like, I don't know what my KD has to do with us winning rounds. Like, I don't. And then at that point, I'm just like, "Yup, yeah, just mute, play your own game, whatever."
Yeah.
Just sit here and bottom frag, I guess.
That's the number one thing that happens, right? Like, as soon as someone's toxic, they're muted. And then, like, boom, there's a line of communication completely gone from both ends, right? Like, it just doesn't help anyone. Not to mention, if anyone's talking about KD and CS, like, they don't even know what they're talking about either.
True.
Like,
no, it's
it's about winning rounds. That's it.
Yeah, it literally happens every time. Like, I'll go in confident, I want to play some CS2, blah, blah, making calls, whatever. And then round 5 or 6, yo, this guy's negative. Why the fuck we listen to him? Like, all right, well, don't listen to me. I mean, you're the one going towards fucking outside nuke while we're all rushing through a lobby. Like, like us.
It's always like, okay, well, you don't want to listen to me. Let's hear your plans, right? And then as long as the team wants to listen to that guy's plans, then like we can pass the IGL over. Like, that's fine. And I think IGLing obviously has different levels to it. Like in Apex, I was considered an IGL fragger because like I could pretty much, I'm an IGL, but I'm also more than happy to go in and fry somebody if I need to. But in CS, like I'll IGL occasionally. I try and let the more experienced players talk a lot because oftentimes, like I said, they've been playing for years, which really speaks to volume that like I'm 3 months in playing with these guys that have been playing for years. Like, I think it's
wild.
But like they may have a plan, they may see something that I don't see right in the situation, and me offering them the opportunity to IGL oftentimes lead me to learning something that I can use later on. So I think that's normally the most helpful thing for me. But yeah, I mean, as long as they have a plan, if they're just shit talking, I mean, like have bozo behavior, mute. But like, if they as long as they have a plan that's seemingly better than mine and everyone's willing to go along with it, I think it works out fine. Plus, changing things up every round is good. I might have 3 plays total that I know about on a map, and once we exhaust those 3, it's kind of like the other team might be an early read. They're like, no one's A main. They're probably going mid to split, underpass, and then B apartments. Like, and then it starts to become a little readable, and that's the fun thing about it, man. It's like a chess FPS play or a game. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many tiny aspects to take into account that I could see myself being entertained with it for years now, just still learning, still improving. So
that's great.
There's nothing like knowing that perfect smoke or that perfect lineup that's going to really set your team up for success as well. Which is why it makes sense that you say it's not necessarily about just aim. It's about understanding how the game works.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I will say that when I first started playing CS, I don't know, a couple years ago, I was terrible at shooting, but I was that guy that I always say, like at the beginning of the round, I'm gonna throw this nade, or I'll start off with that nade, and teammates always appreciate it. Like, all right, cool. At least he knows how to like block off this spot. He may not be able to shoot for shit, but he can block this window for us. And
exactly.
give us the ability, to get some sort of map control.
Yeah, it feels really good to be like first couple rounds kind of go rough, and then someone's like, "Man, anyone know market smoke?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, I do." And then like he's like, "Perfect," and then boom, here's a smoke grenade for you straight from his wallet. You know,
Yep.
like, "Oh, hit that thing, like please." And then we win that round because there's one less important area to look at. It's so much to it, man. There really is. So I love that about it.
So tell us about your current experience as far as what you think is the best and worst thing about CS2 right now. I know it's kind of a mess. We want to get your thoughts.
Well, it's hard for me to look at something and really consider it a mess when it's brand new and like I said, a game that's been CS:GO was out for 11 years and like people are like calling this game trash like less than a month into its official release. I'm like what are we talking about here? Like you hear the smarter people saying like CS:GO's release was way worse than this and look at how beautiful the game, became, and I think that's super important to hang on to, but for me I think the best thing about it is just like a lot of old players are kind of refreshed with this. Like even though it's not a major change, there's not like 7 new maps, here's a new gun, like there's not a huge amount of content, but like I know that about a month before the game release, I was, just like hanging out in some comp lobbies, talking in chat like I normally do, and just like typing to the enemy. And I was like, "So, are we excited about CS2?" And this guy with like 11,000 hours was like, "Fuck yes!" Like, please, like I've been playing this game for so long. Please bring out another game. So I think that's really cool. But obviously, like from a I guess a development standpoint, like the smoke changes are really just
those
like
are so
I don't
cool.
know. I don't know another game that's done volumetric smoke. I'm sure like some Giga Chads in the chat might be able to rattle off some names, but like I have no idea like that. Like it's just so cool to see something so interactive and like yeah, you get a little bit of FPS loss and yeah, but you got to think about like GPUs in 5 years. They're not gonna feel this. You're gonna be 300 FPS all the time again. It's still a super optimized game. Fucking Apex Legends released in 2019 with the same server tick rate as Quake 3, which released in I think 1993, if I'm not mistaken. So, like we're talking 20 tick servers on Apex Legends when most games are, 64 tick, 128 tick, like feeling better. So I think that overall, like the game itself has so many positives, it's impossible to even release like all of like even think of them right now. But as far as negatives go, I mean, obviously, like, I would probably say, like, just the fact that there isn't an invasive anti-cheat yet in CS. Like, I need a Vanguard to take over my system. Like, a kernel level anti-cheat is what I'm itching for. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have any. The reason I've hit Premiere 7800 and then haven't played anymore is because I just don't care to play cheaters. Like, that's where you're getting most of the cheaters because there's a leaderboard now. Now there's a reason for them to actually grind as a cheater. And like before it was just kind of like, yeah, you'd get cheaters here and there and like, yeah, they sucked and whatever, but there was nothing displaying their skill level, if you will, besides that little badge they could see in their lobby. But like now there's like a global leaderboard and I just don't it's hard for me to get the motivation to grind that if I know that I might, you're getting like 1 out of 3 lobbies with wall hackers right now. Like it's a problem. Like,
Yeah.
and if you got walls and it's funny, people call me a cheater and stuff like every now and then because like I just fry people and I have a newer account and I mean it's a pretty valid complaint, I guess. I've been called cheater across many a game.
Just put your
But
profile on private.
yeah, I mean, this I literally have some info about my previous FPS experience, and people still will just like call me a cheater, and I'm like, bro, like what cheat? Why? Like don't disgrace my work like this, like.
Yeah, right.
But like I've been called cheater across Battlefield, Titanfall, Apex, even people called me cheater occasionally, like, and but in CS, man, like it's just a really bad problem, like it's very much a real issue in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine.
I think I kind of forgot where I was leading with that initially, but yeah.
Actually,
I was saying that if I had cheats, I wouldn't drop a game. Like, there's no way. Like,
yeah, right.
you would not win a round against me if I had wall hacks. I would be calling everything perfect. Like, and these people, you can tell they're very bad at games when they cheat. They're just
Oh
staring
my
at the
God, yeah.
walls, lining things up, like just walking out, boop, headshot, and like you're like, oh yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah, that happens.
Like you can't counter strafe and you ran into the wall by accident trying to defuse, but yeah, you hit that shot, dog. Like, you know.
It's actually
Yeah.
kind of funny. I was it's funny you talked about earlier how aiming isn't like the biggest thing in CS at all, and that actually it just goes to show. I actually watched a 2v2 between two pros and just two random people with cheats, and the cheaters they went through a round of aimbot, a round of wall hacks, and then a round of both, and they got shit on both times. And the only close game was the one where they had both aimbot and wall hacks. So it's
Yeah.
like as long as you know how, like, your game sense on CS2 is gonna like outwin everything.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's for real.
they just had a situation, and I think it was Game Changers or some qualifier tournament for Valorant, where some team got disqualified because someone was caught using cheats. And the funny thing is that team ended up losing 0-2 to a team in their last match. It just got absolutely shit on. And it's like everyone that was in that game, they're like, "Wow, I never would have guessed because we shit on them so hard."
Yeah.
They were
From what
like,
I was
"It's not even
thinking,
close." Like,
I think it was Are you referring to Malibu from the VCT women's scene, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken?
from the Newt team or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, Newt. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was
I saw
crazy,
a little
man.
bit about that, and yeah, I mean,
Wait, was that the
unfortunately,
whole debacle where like they were saying that a guy played for her or something like that, or is that something else?
I think that may have been something
Like,
else.
I think that's
like her
something else.
boyfriend played it for her. Oh no, that was an Apex
I was gonna
women's
say
tournament. My bad.
that sounds like an old Apex problem because like
Yeah.
there was a girl early on that got I guess community shunned out of existence because all of her clips were from her boyfriend, and then
Oh no.
yeah, and then I don't remember her name. Thank God she doesn't need to be remembered, but yeah, I think there was something like that in the women's tournament as well, like with something like that. I don't know. You know. There's lots of things they could put in place to kind of help that, but they never will.
Yeah,
They want that scene to
exactly.
prosper as quickly as possible. So
Everybody's still confused on God, I had her name and I just forgot. The chick who went to the COD Invitational or whatever for beta, and everybody said she was a
Nadia,
cheater. Nadia, there you go, that chick.
God,
Everybody's
I
still on
can't
her
Oh,
dick.
stand her. I can't
so
stand her ass.
she got rolled in that fucking invitational.
Yo,
She
she's awful,
did.
brother. She's awful. And now she's trying to turn that cheating shit. She's trying to like she's bringing it up on her own now because her numbers are dropping, and so she's trying to like bait people into coming back to watch her. And it's like you are so untalented and so like unentertaining
Yeah,
that you can't even pull people in with the cheating bait, bro. Like
yeah. I
it's
mean,
just it's crazy. So what
it's
people get up there these days.
I feel like it's a story as old as time at this point in the gaming industry. You know what I mean? Like you got someone VPNing to get on bot lobbies, farming their KD up. In a 2 year span, their KD goes from a 1.1 to a 4.7 or whatever the hell she had. She doesn't think anyone can find that out. She gets invited to a tournament because she's doing so well. She gets raffle stomped into the fucking ground by everyone that's actually good at the game. And then everyone's like, "Oh, so that was valid." And people stop
Yeah.
paying attention to her. And now she's, if I'm not mistaken, the last thing I saw about her was she was pretty upset she didn't get invited to the new COD Invitational or something.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I mean, like, you know, you're allowed to make whatever content you want in life and stuff, but like when the only thing you've posted content related is in a bikini in the last 6 months, I don't think they have to invite you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
if you're not doing COD content anymore, like why would they invite you? And you shit on the game every chance you get. You talk shit about it all
Yep.
the time. Like,
Well,
yeah,
that's like fucking Doc and Nick and all those people
yeah,
that used to be big on COD and now they're like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And it's like on one hand, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons why, right? It's like you talk
Yeah.
shit about the game every single opportunity you get. Half of you don't stream the game anymore. You
Yep.
spread shit that's not even real about the game, especially in terms of like Doc. He's just that. I used to have respect for that man because he worked in the industry and he made himself from nothing in the streaming sphere with a really unique idea, and then he
Yeah.
became hateful. His takes started just being wrong, and I'm like, man, the downfall is crazy. But I mean, all those people are out here like, I'm not gonna play Call of Duty, and Nick. I get Nick's a little bit more, even though I think Nick is just as fucked up and bad because of all of the shit that he took in terms of like the
Yeah.
politics around his skin getting removed. So, fuck
Yeah.
him. Who cares? What a piece of shit. But at the same time, he's like, well, I just, the way they treated me, I'm not going to do that. They don't want me there. And you know what? That's cool. You read the room. I'll give you bonus points. Nobody wants you there. You're right. But for Doc, he's like, this, they don't want me there, and it's because the game's shit, and they don't want me telling everyone, and it's like, no, you're just fucking awful, and nobody wants you anywhere, bro.
Yeah. I mean, Doc's downfall is definitely evident when there's an NFT game releasing.
Yup.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
So
was just about to
stupid,
say
man.
that. Like,
That-
go fucking work on your own game, dude.
I mean,
Call
I'll
your
still
own
watch
game
his
shit.
like his 30-second reaction clips sometimes, because like I think funny is funny. I think we can give anyone credit for being funny in the moment without having to take super like personal traits out and like say why you hate them or love them or what have you. I think real recognize real. If you're funny, you're funny. So like in the moments,
Yeah.
like in his clips, I enjoy his funny clips.
Yeah.
Nick, it hurts a little bit towards my younger self, I guess, to see
Yup. That's
his,
Tim for me, man. Yep.
like to see him just not involved with COD at all anymore. Like I don't care about the politics stuff as much. It's more like I just remember growing up and watching him like this, like in my room.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just like
Yep.
grinding all day.
Yup.
Like he's like, oh, what's this 117th game battle today?
Yep.
Like,
Listen.
and then like I I'll always remember that Nick mostly because like he's always, to me, he hasn't really changed too much. Now I will say money's definitely a big part. I don't really love the phase aspect of him, if you will. Like I don't think anything phase is that great in my opinion. There's about 8 people in phase that I could probably say are pretty good at being humans and stuff like that. But most of them are outshadowed by the Boom Squad or whatever the hell. Like just insert name and then squad or whatever, and then they're popping off. But it definitely sucks to see COD in the way it is. I think the biggest issue right now about COD is kind of like across the board for the FPS environment, which is just like everyone is really focused on the bag now, not grinding for the love of the game or the mechanics or improving or just even having that ego like, man, I'm about to crush this team. I want to beat this team. Like now it's all about the bag and like trying to be the best they can. And I think the gaming companies are really catering to a lot of casual player bases that use 2 thumbsticks. I think that's
Zero paddles. Just
yeah,
thumbsticks.
they just there's a lot of in the FPS scene at least, there's a lot of reasons to not love the games that most people do if you're on mouse and keyboard now. I think there's not a game that I can think of besides CS that is, I guess Quake, but like I said, there's about 1,500 people there that really caters towards the computer side of things, the PC experience.
Yeah. I mean, you're
so-
someone who's been around the whole FPS scene in general, controller, PC. What do you think? I don't want to say objectively, obviously, but
If
what
what
do
you
you?
say,
Yeah, what do you think about just what they're going through with games being geared towards ranked as opposed to being geared towards casual?
well, obviously, I think there's like a really fine line that companies have to meet there, right? Like, you don't want to make it so competitive and so much of a learning curve that everyone that tries the game hates it within the first day. I'm looking at Diabolical here. I'm looking at Quake Champions. Like, there's a lot of like those games do not give more like 600 players at best. Okay, I was about to say 1500 might be an exaggeration even. But
Yeah.
like Quake Champions, like me and my buddies in chat were talking about it the other day. Like you go into Quake Champions, and if you want to learn like about what you can do, they have a book like on the main home screen that you click on, and it's basically like copy pasted from the code of the game. Like there is no there's no video tutorials, there's no, but like Quake has some of the most in-depth movement of any game. Like you get
Yeah.
you get so many different styles of movement and mechanics, and Diabolical is pretty much the same way. Like there's no real there's no like stepping stones into getting better. You're gonna load that game up. You're gonna get someone B hopping past you. He's gonna 3-tap you, and you're gonna be like, "What just happened?" And then it's gonna repeat over and over and over again. So you can get too competitive to where like the game is just pain, but then you can get too casual where the skill floor is much higher than it needs to be, and then the skill gap is almost non-existent, and the skill ceiling is low. And I'm looking at COD for that. I'm realistically looking at Apex nowadays for that as well. Apex is probably one of the hardest FPS games to play if you want to improve and get better and slay a lobby, if you will. The Battle Royale aspect of that adds a lot to that difficulty. But, I mean, any game that is auto-rotation aim assist is going to 100% be an extreme pain point for mouse and keyboard players to try and compete. I mean, when it comes to auto rotation being an aim assist, so like auto rotation as a software analyzes frame by frame the movement of the enemy player from an engine level. Like, which I don't know if y'all know this, but I don't analyze frame by frame in real time. It's
No,
kind of hard to
not
do
at
that.
all.
And we'll adjust so like if someone's strafing to the left, or I guess to the left, and then they take one step to the right, auto rotation will correct that for the player instantaneously. There's a post from my buddy on Twitter. His name's Lobotomy. I say my buddy. I've bought some stuff from him. I know him. He's an acquaintance. And but he's very he went to school for, I believe, neurology. So he understands like the brain to hand like interaction and reaction speeds really in depth. And he put a post out one day explaining that auto rotation instantaneously adjusts your aim, but meanwhile it takes us 35 ms to even for your brain to even connect to your eyes to react to something that you've taken 200 ms to react to on average, and then it takes another 35 ms to go from your eyes to your hand, or from your brain to your hand to do it. He's like, objectively speaking, auto rotation is inhuman. Like it's inorganic. And so you got COD. I believe Fortnite had one of the most egregious aim assist settings I've ever seen in a game for a long time. The left trigger tapping to aim lock on. I think that I think games that just incorporate these types of software, like they just don't allow for true skill to shine, in my opinion. They try and put everyone near the same level, but that's unhealthy for a game as well. There's I believe Scump said it. He said like in old CODs you had to be a good gunny. Like you had to have good aim. You had to actually like be good with the gun skill. And then they had a throwback Black Ops 2 tournament not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my god!
And I don't know
Everyone
if y'all
sucked.
saw
It was
those
awesome.
clips, but those were professional players with
Yep.
championships.
Yep.
These weren't like Jack and Jill just got off from an 8 to 5 shift and then like cranked up with a messed up analog. These were professional, top of the line players that have multiple wins on a world basis, like that were unable to connect shots at all. You see the tendencies, you see the bad habits that new aim assist creates. And I think if it continues down that line, I think it's going to be really problematic, not only for mouse and keyboard players, but for controller players. They don't understand how much it's taking away from their own abilities. They're not actually even playing the game as in-depthly as they used to. It's almost playing itself if you put them within the crosshair. And I don't think I think that's a problem.
Yeah. I was playing Modern Warfare 3's beta today. It just opened up on PS4 and 5 for everyone to play there. And being on the PS5, I wasn't about to hook up my fucking keyboard and mouse. So I picked up a controller for the first time since like OG Modern Warfare 2. That aim assist, absurd, man. Absolutely absurd. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It disgusted me. It really did. And I definitely think that as it goes, I mean, we have a bunch of people that are always going to fight to the death. They're going to die on the hill where they say something along the lines of like, "Oh, it's not that bad. You just need to get better." But, people that are always going to stick up for dumb shit like that. But in my mind, when you have professional players in some of these games literally moving from keyboard and mouse over to controller just so that they can take advantage of that aim assist, whether they'll admit it or not, it's a problem. It's absolutely a problem. And the thing is even if you're doing it to cater to casual players, at that point, you're catering to the most casual of players because it's the people that are playing with a controller on a console. But what about the casual players on PC? Are they just fucked? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense even in its original intended use case. I don't understand it. I think that people on a controller should have to use their peripherals to their greatest ability, just like someone would on a keyboard and mouse, because it's, obviously you have more degrees of freedom with a mouse than you would with a controller. But I think that people, when they look at a controller player for a long time, they saw that, you see that degree of freedom change and you're like, oh, wow, well, the mouse has such an advantage. But I think you're underestimating what you can do with a controller. I mean, I've seen some people turn aim assist off on controllers and just absolutely fucking, just annihilate people. And I think it's more so an issue that people don't want to put in the work. And so someone along the way came up with a flawed system and it just stuck. And I think it's awful. It really is awful.
Yeah,
it's so funny to me. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I love this. I love this argument for a second. It's so funny because when console players were playing on console in 2012, PC players were dogging anyone who used a controller. Anybody who used thumbsticks, you're the scum of the earth. You're dog shit. You'll never be on our level. And then the second that cross-plat lobbies were created, the whole narrative just shifted. All of a sudden now, it's the opposite. Nick Merckx and fucking Aiden won a couple Fortnite tournaments, and then it was like, wait a minute, we gotta stop this shit immediately, guys. Like, wait, what? Wait, I gotta know. I mean, I clearly remember people just in my ear, PC Master Race, PC Master Race, PC Master Race, PC Master Race.
100%. Every day.
What happened to PC Master Race, PC Master? Whatever happened to that?
Oh, I think that
used to be a thing.
I think that at base, that's true. And we've seen that be true. I mean, because there was a period there where people had, keyboard and mouse and controllers in the same lobbies, and there wasn't aim assist. And if there was aim assist, it wasn't very good. And these controller players are getting shit on 100%. And I think there's a number of things that go into that. Like, I think the first thing is that we'd never really come to terms with that, because think about where the skill ceiling for each thing sits, right? You've got a skill ceiling for people playing with a keyboard and mouse, which is just naturally going to be way higher than skill ceiling for people using controllers, because good performance on a controller is not good enough to keep up with a keyboard and mouse. You have to do better. But for people playing solely on controllers in an echo chamber there, you're fine. It's controller versus controller COD lobbies. That's what you're dealing with. I think the other thing is that in trying to manufacture the solution to that without making people do all the extra work, I think they went too far. I think they shot way too far in one direction, and just essentially they were like, hey, so let's give these people like kind of aimbot. And maybe that was intentional at first, maybe it wasn't, but I think that they overtuned it and it just kind of stuck that way. And now people are used to it, and you take it away, and then people that are used to it are like, well, this game sucks. I can't hit anybody. And everyone's too afraid to tell them that that's because they're bad, not because the game is weird or different in some way or bad or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would alter the narrative to say that if anything, the top tier players in the world need to be, maybe on a competitive level, if you want to put PC players versus controller players. Maybe then make the controller players turn off aim assist. Sure.
Yeah.
I watched my brother play Call of Duty with aim assist. He's not good. I mean, he fucking tries, but he's terrible. And the second I pick up the sticks, he goes, "Damn, bro, like, how are you doing that?" It's because I put 15,000 hours in this fucking game. It's because I actually like sat down
Yep.
and like you said, I was making out with my monitor for hours on end just so I could get good at the game. I couldn't tell you. I mean, J-Dog could tell you. I mean, back in COD 4, when I first started playing on controller, my very first game, I went 4-17. I'll never forget that shit. 4-17. I was like, what the hell am I doing? And the second I got my Xbox 360, I sat in front of my 35 millisecond 55-inch screen TV. That was terrible, but I would do nothing but just grind. And then eventually I just started to notice, oh, I'm better. Oh, I'm shitting on kids now. And it was just literally just the hours that I like consistently put into the game. It had nothing to do with I turned my thumbstick and all of a sudden, I'm fucking aimbotting. That wasn't the case. But it was just the hours upon hours upon hours of gameplay that I put into it.
Yeah.
And so I think that the people who grind should be rewarded, because that muscle memory is what is going to make you as good at the game as you are. It is the muscle memory at the end of the day. It has to be, because if I give my mom the sticks, she's not going 20-0. It's just not happening.
Well, listen, let's give her a controller and let's see, first of all.
Let's test this first.
Let's throw her on one of these new gen CODs. Let's see how it goes.
We need a scientific method this shit.
Yeah, I think we need to put the sticks down in front of your mom and give her a chance. You talking some shit over here. God damn.
I definitely think that from my standpoint, I don't think controller and PC should ever compete against one another in the same lobby. I think that's where the biggest problem lies. I think mouse and keyboard should be limited to mouse and keyboard. I think console should be limited to console.
I like
controller to controller. With that being said, I do believe in gyro technology. Like, I really fuck with gyro. If controller players put time in to learn gyro, they will be as good as mouse and keyboard players. That is using, once again, the human element, which like you talked about earlier, Kyle, with the skill ceiling will always be infinitely higher on mouse and keyboard. And that's because it involves involves 8 muscles in your arm. 10 muscles from your shoulder down to your hands. It involves you actually putting in the time, learning your play space, dialing in your CM per 360 or sensitivity or DPI, CPI, whatever you want to call it, learning what you like to work with, using a mouse pad that's clean. It involves having good posture, not being dehydrated, having food in your belly, getting a good night's sleep. Like, it involves so much more than it does with controller. And I'm coming from a controller base, right? Like, I recognize real, right? Like, I've played on controller at a high level. I've played on mouse and keyboard at a high level. Apex has a really bad case of people swapping to controller, and that's because people in competitive are not looking for mouse and keyboard players.
Yeah.
The problem stems from inconsistencies across an 8-hour span of grinding. Unfortunately, like, the low inconsistencies are just another way of saying, like, you go high and then you go low, right? Like, and the goal of M&K is to take your high points, which is the best day ever, and then your low points, and lessening that range, right? Like, trying to bring your consistency up to the point of not having those awful off days because of bad habits that you develop when you're tired or whatever. Oh, you're 6 hours into grinding, now you got bad posture, now your forearm's sitting different on the table. Now you're not aiming as well. You're getting tilted. Your mind's not where it needs to be. And that can affect your gameplay. Whereas we always see in Apex that the first top 10 predators in the world, 1, 2, through 10, are always going to be controller players almost, because they realistically have less fatigue on their body while they play. So I don't think that the two inputs should be even remotely matched in the same lobbies. And I think that's the biggest issue with, like, this drama that happens. I just think that, like, people, they're just, it's two different cuts of cloth, man. Like, there's no hate towards controller and there's no hate towards mouse and keyboard players if they don't face each other. Like, like, it just is how it is. Like, and like I talked about earlier, aim assist as a software has grown in so many ways. And unfortunately, the hardware they're on as well has grown in so many ways. Like aim assist from a grassroots growth standpoint is because consoles were 30 FPS on a 30 hertz TV sitting on the couch. Like realistically, no one's going to be able to aim well there. Like, and so aim assist was enabled to allow a slight amount of gluing, or I say gluing, whatever the terminology is, a slight amount of aim slow really is probably what it was around the target to allow you to make those corrections, aka micro adjustments on the controller without getting hardcore punished. Because if you move the analog stick 1 inch without it, you look pretty far, and then if you're slowed and you move it 1 inch, you go to the target. So it makes a lot of sense early on, but now we're looking at consoles that are steady 120 FPS, and most people have most newer TVs I think are even might even be 144 hertz now. I'm not even sure if I go to Walmart and grab some $500 TV, I'm expecting it's not 60 hertz. It might be 75, it might be 120, who knows? But the hardware has grown so much, and then also the software has grown so much that now, when you compare the two, especially in a game like Apex, I am gonna keep falling back on that. Like 90% of the gunfights happen within a 30-meter radius of each other, and unfortunately, that is 100% where the aim assist is the most beneficial, if you will, which is why you see so many pros swapping to controller, because everyone can IGL at a pro level, everyone can rotate, everyone knows that ring endings, so the macro of the game is less important, whereas the micro is really what's making the big difference for a lot of players. But I think we all avoid this if we just stop placing them in the same lobbies. Like
I don't know, man. Like I'm in the same boat. I have that same thought all the time, especially when I'm playing. I'm like, my first thought is, why the fuck am I being teamed up with these people? But then I get to thinking about it, and I'm like, it pisses me off, but it would almost piss me off more if I couldn't queue up with my friends on other platforms because of that. And so then it's like, well, where does the solution land? Is it that you limit it in competitive lobbies? Is it that you limit it specifically in competitive events? Is it, somewhere in the middle? I don't know. And a second thing that I want to toss
on a
in.
competitive level, I should have clarified that. I don't.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to play casually with their buddy on Xbox, I think that's great. Like y'all should have a good time. I am speaking in terms of like professional level gameplay. I don't think they should ever be matched up because it's so hard to find that middle ground that always one's going to seem, if aim assist isn't good enough or controllers aren't good enough, then controllers going to just reign strong. Like it's just or a mouse and keyboard is just going to roll them. Whereas controller, if it's overtuned, then like you get an Apex effect, which is 90% of the pros are on controller with like one dude who's the brain of the team that's on mouse and keyboard. He doesn't do much for the team most of the time. So
yeah. So speaking of hardware, and then I'll shut up. Have you guys seen this controller that I just posted in the chat? It's called the Dark Walker Shot Pad, and it's on the up and up a little bit in certain FPS communities. And I've seen it referenced a couple times, and it's being marketed as this revolution that brings together like a traditional controller and like a mouse situation alongside having a whole new button layout. And a lot of people are saying that it's kind of weird at first, but once you get used to it, it's a pretty phenomenal thing. And to me, it links into what we were just talking about in that, you said the hardware and the software have evolved, and that's true. That's very true. But I think that the hardware hasn't, like, as far as controllers and peripherals are concerned, they haven't evolved in any meaningful capacity. I mean, we've got paddles are becoming the big thing now. We've got controllers where you can unplug certain things and put them together modularly, but we haven't seen any real evolution. It's like we landed on this general ergonomic shape and then decided that was it. But I mean, is there a future for controllers like this one? Are we heading anywhere else? Are we stuck? I mean, what's the deal here?
I think it's the first time I've seen that controller, by the way. I did make a face when I saw it because I didn't know what to think about it. But I think that the biggest improvement towards controllers is the gyro technology, the ability to use like there's a CS player that if anyone watches CS, I'm sure you know about Oni Pixel.
Oh, yeah.
Big skins guy, big content, #1 growing stream on Twitch right now. He got crushed by a controller player in a 1v1 in CS, and that player uses gyro. And gyro is the ability to, for anyone that's not aware, here, one sec. I'm gonna grab my controller.
He's got it. Of course he does.
If you were to,
Cocked.
everyone plays the controller like this. Oh goodness, like that. Well, not like that. And everyone plays it like that. I played it like this. So everyone's using right analog
claw,
stick for
dude.
their aim,
Not
right?
claw.
But for gyro, what people are utilizing is tilt technology. So like they're using their wrist to aim left and right like this, and then up and down just like this. And it allows people to actually, like I said, brings the human element into their gameplay. And this guy's insane on his controller. It's a PS5 controller, so he has that little touchpad thingy right here. He b-hops on the touchpad by scrolling up, and then uses gyro for aim. He flicks just like a mouse and keyboard player. As soon as you get it down, you're just like boop, and then you're right there, and then boom, and then back
Holy
to
shit.
center. So like it's actually really impressive to see how good gyro can be. If I'm not mistaken, someone in the AIM community has been known for using some gyro technology on controllers in benchmarks for aiming. It's a real piece of technology that I hope at least in like 5 years will be more mainstream. There's a video that someone recorded on what I can only assume was a camcorder back in the day playing Quake Live on a controller, no aim assist at all, and he was frying people. Like, so I think the problem is that, like, for me is like if the software is on by default and it's set to its best setting by default, aka Apex, everyone uses it without thinking about it. But if the games were just released without the aim assist, everyone would still eventually just get good, if that makes sense. To have it on by default makes it to where when they remove it, if they were to change it or lessen it, then it feels like a loss to the player, right? Like it feels like it hurts them as a skill, as their skill base would be like lessened immediately. Whereas if it's off, everyone would just play with it off. Like Gundam Evolution had no aim assist. There were controller players competing in that. It really, from a non-casual standpoint, most people don't care if it's aim assist or not. If the game has it, if they're good, they're good. Like, but a casual level, I think that's hard for people to get behind. They probably feel like that. I also don't think any FPS game in the market right now is a casual game. Like
No.
from a standpoint of no one, like if you're a casual and you go into an FPS game, you're going to play against non-casuals. Like if you join Apex, you're going to get crushed. Like if you're just want to mess around with my buddies, like no, that's not happening. Like you're getting sweated on. You're going to get wall jump, b-hop, lurch strafed. I got configs on my controller, and you're going to get fried. Like, so I think the idea of competitive FPS games has just gotten so big, like that it's hurting the casual player base, but then the casual player base is being like kept up by the companies themselves and how they code the game, because they know that players wouldn't be as interested. I don't know, it's tough. Like I don't have any hate towards anyone that plays on any input. I want you to enjoy your game. That's the main thing for me. Enjoy the game. Like have fun doing it. I have fun doing what I do. I have fun doing it in the way I do it. I want people to enjoy their games, especially with their friends. I think that's what gaming was always meant to be about, right? Like it's like split screen and hanging out with the buddies, LAN parties. Like that's how it started. Like, and it's just tough to really find that middle ground for anyone that is not either ready to play 12 hours a day and grind their ass off, and the dude that just wants to play an hour a day, like, and just enjoys time before he eats dinner and goes to bed after work. You know, like there's no middle ground now. It's all or nothing.
Yeah, that's
But
kind of. Go ahead.
I was just
I
gonna
was
say
like, can
that
I,
mouse
can
and
I, can I,
keyboard thing is interesting. The controller you shared is really interesting to me. I don't think anyone will be able to use it to a very good degree for a very long time.
I think they would. I know
Yeah.
a couple people that do use it and that swear by it and then say then they'll never go to a keyboard or controller ever again. That they they get used to it. And I've heard that the issue stems from just like getting used to it. Ergonomically, it is kind of weird because it's very different from anything that we've used. It almost kind of reminds me of like I think we've even talked about these on the show before, but they used to have way back in the day these little hand keyboard units where it'd have a little section where you put your palm on it and then it would have like a keyboard and a little thumbstick on it, like the Razer Tartarus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those never really caught on because I think that they were too ergonomically weird and different. But from what I understand, and I admittedly haven't picked one of these up and used it yet, so take it with a grain of salt. It's all anecdotal evidence from people that I've talked to, but they say that once you get over that hump, it allows you to accomplish a lot that you wouldn't be able to do with a controller while also kind of maintaining that comfort of having a controller. And I kind of get it too. I think one of the big things that something like that could really fix is just off the top of my head, you have more granular control over movement with a joystick than you do with just WASD keys, right? You can control how fast you're moving, whatever. Whereas a keyboard is like on off, no big deal. It's kind of changing because keyboard tech is starting to implement like Hall effect sensors and whatever else and magnets, whatever. But I think that it gives you a certain level of control once you get used to it that you might not have either way. And I think it could be exciting. I do have my qualms with maybe the execution. I think it's a great idea. But what I would love to see is I'd love to see a company come out with something that's like maybe like slightly tweaked with Hall effect joystick, maybe better hardware, a little bit more ergonomics on the trackpad side. But I think as far as a general concept is concerned, I think it's really promising for something just, out of left field, something that we haven't really stopped to think about.
I love the concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you got, Juice?
I'm ready to see VR games to become the standard.
Shit.
That's
I can get
gonna
behind
take a
that.
while. I think Mike, you had something to say, and then I wanted to end this lovely episode on a giant conundrum for you guys.
Well, I mean, no, I think that's really what I was going to talk about is the just the idea that at some point keyboard and mouse and controllers are going to be irrelevant, and I'm excited for that. I don't know if you guys ever play VR FPS games. Obviously there's Pavlov for those who know, and
They're so fun, man, but they make me so tired.
Yeah, there's another game called Contractors, which is a lot closer to Call of Duty. And the people who are good on Contractors are fucking good. Like it's crazy. Like, bro, there's no way you actually like grind this game, but they do, and they're fantastic. So I'm kind of excited to see people who are able to use their entire body and have the kind of movement that makes you difficult to track. Physically. Again,
I'm just
using your
gonna
entire
say,
body.
like, once it becomes the fucking norm for gamers to be VR with a fucking multi-directional treadmill, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. Because honestly, the only thing that keeps me away from like just throwing all my money at VR right now is the movement. Like if I can't move with my feet in VR, like I don't really see a point in
I'm the same way.
doing it.
It doesn't feel as valid to me. Like if I'm looking around like this, but then I'm holding like a joystick and I'm pushing forward on it, it still feels fake to me.
Yeah, it feels a little foreign.
But as soon as you get that all direction treadmill, then like you're gonna need a gaming room. You're gonna need like a whole different kind of setup. It'll take a long time for VR to become out at least like above mouse and keyboard if you're going for like something like as natural of a feel as you can. I will say WASD feels outdated. Like I may hate saying that, but like the analog stick diagonal movement is valid. Like
Yep.
that's the best thing about it. That's why I will play Skyrim on a controller. I don't play it on mouse and keyboard. I will
Yep,
play
I agree.
Starfield on a controller. I don't like if it's not a FPS, I'm not playing a mouse and keyboard. Like
Yep.
controllers are the most comfortable way to play a game non-seriously, in my opinion.
I think they're more immersive too. We kind of talked about this in another episode a little bit, but
Yeah, we did.
there's just something about having a controller in your hands that just puts you in a game more than like a keyboard and mouse does. And I can't really figure out why. I think it is because you have more granular control over your character and what you do in the game world, which, more agency is always going to feel more real. The thing about VR, and I'm going to make this short, but right now, I think that because multi-directional treadmills are not perfect, and even the ones that are out are so fucking expensive. I mean, there's a lot there. Honestly, just rent out a warehouse, fill it with like Nerf walls and floors, and just let me run around and jump and slam into shit. That's all I need, really. But the day that I'm excited about is so far out, and it may never end up happening. But we'll dive VR, man. Being able to just like lay down in a bed and put a headset on, and it like everything that you process in your brain happens in the game because it's reading your brainwaves and shit. I mean, just imagine dropping down in Call of Duty and actually having to like peek around walls and feeling everything and smelling the smells. And man, I mean,
Elon's working on that chip, boys.
Elon couldn't work on his own fucking life, brother. Man's
and
man's a
nothing like
fucking joke.
smelling gamer chairs and Doritos and mid game. You're like, oh my god.
Oh, bro. No, those are some of the funnest times too. That chat's mentioning laser tag. Like, there's a I think Juice, you know about it. The one in Livermore. It was like a mini golf laser tag place, and they just like they give you the suits, they give you the guns. They got like a whole little like it's almost like fucking Call of Duty Nuke kind of arena. You got 3 lanes, everything, and you're just you're fucking fully immersed, dude.
Yeah, it's true. It's just lit, bro. I mean, I'm excited for it. Using all your muscles, I'm down for that.
And then there's also the debate of use controller movement on one hand and then use your mouse with the other hand.
Yeah. Any game that does that right now is they have input delay issues because it's swapping instantaneously between you using a controller or a mouse. Like, it doesn't know which one to read. But I do like those. Like, I had a buddy on Instagram that he played with Overwatch with a controller left hand and then mouse right hand.
Oh yeah, I've got a buddy that does that too.
Like, shout out to him, but it does. I just wish that it was more fluid because, like, that, I'll be honest, like, that's super valid. Like in my opinion, so valid. Like, now, do I think there are button input issues? Probably. Like, it's hard to like go from moving with your left hand to hitting the buttons on the right hand of the controller. But I guess you could map like the paddles on the back and stuff like that. But I'm all for WASD being removed. But the problem is that the format is so like hard coded now for like everyone to use it, and I just wish that it was a little bit more fluid, like diagonally and stuff, because hopping diagonally is way more fun, like sometimes. But I don't know, it's all skill ceiling, I guess, but it's hard to find that middle ground of everything being. You have to go like to controller for this one thing, and then the mouse for this one thing, and then even the VR for this one thing, and we're waiting for the GameStop of inputs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So kind of what I wanted to touch on as a last point. We can either dive into it for a couple minutes or just kind of let it simmer in people's minds. What's your guys's like final hard takes of how much controller and aim assist has progressed to not only try to be on the level of competitive mouse and key, but also keep those that casual player base? Is it gonna exceed itself at some point? Is it gonna diminish? What do you guys think?
Oof, do I think it'll ever die or become like obsolete compared to
Well, not
keyboard and
I
mouse?
don't think it'll really become obsolete. I'm more throwing in the question of developers are spending so much time trying to balance this aim assist controller and mouse and keyboard competitiveness to, is it just gonna get out of hand at some point, or are we just gonna be like,
No,
yo, like,
it won't.
I think realistically,
It's
sorry, go ahead, Juice.
I'm just saying it's not going to get out of hand because at the end of the day, when you put the best in the world on mouse and keyboard versus the best in the world on a controller, you're gonna have either a really balanced game or a very lopsided game in favor of mouse and keyboard. It's just the case. I mean, obviously there are some levels where keyboard and mouse might. I mean, for example, with aim assist, long range gunfights aren't as fun. On aim assist, if you're shooting somebody from a couple hundred meters away, you're gonna get shit on. Whereas with keyboard and mouse, if you adjust your in-game sensitivity properly, you might actually be able to kind of win that gunfight. Close range gunfights always favor aim assist. It's always going to be that way. I don't know. Suck it. I don't know what to say in that regard, right? Like close range gunfights just favor aim assist so much, but long range fights tend to favor mouse and keyboard, as an example. So I think there's always going to be an opportunity where we're going to see mouse and keyboard shine, and then there are going to be days where we're going to see controller shine, and we just gotta just understand that is what it is. I guess it's the meta for some things.
Yeah.
I think that people could argue the best argument for aim assist being unfair would be a game like Halo. I think that's one game where you're never going to see a keyboard and mouse player shine above a controller player. And you put Formal against Jesus. I'm sorry, Jesus is getting shit on if he's using keyboard and mouse. I mean, that. I think that has to be the one game where it's just clearly, all right, this game was designed for aim assist. But we've seen like Shroud play against Teep and Scump, and Shroud was able to hold his own. Definitely doesn't have nearly as many hours as the TP and Scump, but he's on the leaderboard. I mean,
it's actually kind of funny how Halo kind of like flips that dynamic of far range and close range, because mouse and keyboard players, obviously, they got the movement, they got the flicks to perform all the melees. They can fucking jump over you and assassinate you without even thinking. But
True.
Controller players with aim assists are sitting in the back with a BR or fucking sniper just shitting on kids.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good
it's
point.
so funny. I almost feel the opposite way from everything that's been said. And that's probably from me just focusing so much on mechanics. So I personally believe that aim assist versus mouse and keyboard has already exceeded the limit of what it should be. And that's
me too.
because I think that a lot of controller players don't, and the ones that do, if we do place top controller players, and we're talking real top controller players versus top M&K players in the world, I do 100% think that controller has a much better chance of shining. And that's because most of the top controller players utilize proper strafe mechanics and actual aim mechanics that most good controller players don't utilize as much. In Apex, for example, there's a strafe mechanic called you're talking about mirroring or anti-mirroring, okay? And what we're referring to there is when a target's moving to the left, you're going to walk to the right, to where basically you're keeping them within a range while you're strafing. And then if you're mirroring, that means if they're going to the left on your screen, you're going to follow them on the left of your screen. So in Apex Legends, there's been a few clips that have been shown that basically, like, aim assist, not only to mention stick drift, is a major problem when it comes to aim assist functioning. Because if you have stick drift, which is just a proper, like, normal controller thing, like I probably have had 20 controllers in my lifetime, and all of them at some point had stick drift.
Yeah.
Which is, if anyone in the chat isn't aware, it's when basically the right analog stick sensor is a little bit jarred from whatever you've been doing, moving it too much, and it's always registering an input. So it might slowly drift up to the right, it might slowly drift to the bottom, who knows. But once you understand it has that, you automatically counter it by having a slight input a certain way, and then it doesn't really, you don't even notice it anymore. But the problem is that the aim assist software notices it all the time. By you constantly inputting something to correct that, you're constantly having an input on your screen, which is when aim assist activates. So even without having any aim input, if you will, you're just centering it on your screen where you want to look, it's automatically aim assist dragging. So when you see controller players playing with proper mechanics with that are essential benefiting the aim assist software, because it's not, everyone says like they do it to abuse the aim assist. Well, I mean, if you have aim assist or you have a certain way that you aim and you move to help yourself aim in that way, it's not really abusing it. You're playing to your strengths. You know what I mean? So I think that we would absolutely see top controller players coming out on top way more often than you would mouse and keyboard players across the majority of games. And also to counter what you said about Halo, Summit 1G, who is not by any means a top mouse and keyboard player, just beat I think the number one ranked 1v1 player in Halo, who plays for Space Station in a 1v1, and he doesn't play Halo that much. So I think that that's really an interesting thing to take away, is that there are absolutely moments for mouse and keyboard, but they did add aim assist to mouse and keyboard in Halo, which I think is also
They did.
Yes, they've embedded it into the game. You cannot disable
Interesting.
it. So that is something that came out, I believe, 3 months after Halo Infinite was released, because they saw mouse and keyboard player numbers dying off, and they added aim assist, and there you go. So now it's on mouse and keyboard there. I also think that anyone jumping, mentioning movement, I think movement in Halo is such a, I'm going to say linear thing. Like there's not a huge amount of depth to it. You do get some edge boosts. You do get some certain things like nade jumping and certain like stuff like that. But those have kind of always been in the game, except for the edge boosting. I don't know what the exact term is, but that's what I call it.
Oh, yeah. They keep going, curb sliding, G sliding, like it keeps fucking
whatever.
changing.
Yeah. Slide off the edge.
Yes. So,
I think that it's really interesting to see basically the Halo side of things say, hey, mouse and keyboard needs aim assist to compete against but control. It's obviously a controller game. If anyone signs into Halo and is like, yo, I'm not doing well on mouse and keyboard, it's not designed for that. Like it just wasn't. Yeah. It's always been a controller game, and it deserves to stay a controller game, in my opinion. I don't think mouse and keyboard players need to play Halo. Now, there are some really good ones, but I just think that they're enjoying the game because it's Halo, not because it's like a fun game to play on mouse. I played Halo Infinite. I did just fine, but it's, once again, just it's not designed for you. Just like how COD realistically isn't designed for mouse and keyboard either. And it kind of goes back to the feeling of, I don't think that they don't need to play together, like in a competitive sense. Like if you want to casually play, no casual mouse and keyboard player is going to care about dying 20 times controllers. They just aren't. That's not what they're not thinking about that. They're having drinks with their buddies, like they're enjoying it. Me, on the other hand, I'm slamming my fist every time I get one clipped by some level 12 lifeline in Apex, because I realized that my 7,000 hours have just been completely negated by someone that just walked in a straight line and one clip. Yeah, I mean, I also think Apex has a lot of other fundamental flaws that makes mouse and keyboard hard. Visual clarity. There's lots of stuff on your screen. You lose. The most important thing about mouse and keyboard is being able to see your target. Obviously, otherwise you don't know what you need to aim to. Your arm needs to do what you need to strafe into, and you can shoot the ground in a snowy area and you completely lose your target. But the aim assist software, unfortunately, doesn't see that snow in the air, so it stays tracking. There's just lots of problems that arise when you compare the two in the same competitive lobbies.
It's definitely different too, and I like that you mentioned the competitive aspect of controller and PC again, because I was thinking, I don't know, I think it goes from a competitive aspect of competitive players are going to, if they're really competitive about a game, they're going to switch fucking whatever peripheral they want to use anyways. But I also feel like it's sort of a crutch between the fact of if you truly separated those two communities and try to have like Apex has a controller competition and a PC competition, I don't think you'd have like obviously you'd still have the same kind of turnout for each one, but it wouldn't be I don't know what's the word for it.
It depends on the game as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
if you're a Rainbow Six, you're for sure not getting as much of a turnout with controller. It's just not happening.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
you can quit that shit. PC
Yeah.
is gonna fucking rule every time in Rainbow Six.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Is like if you do separate them and you have to focus on one peripheral, I feel like some games would, like you said, Rainbow Six would nobody would be competing for controller. Like
Who gives a fuck
I
about
mean,
it?
I mean, obviously people would, but it'd be like
yeah.
it'd go back to the skill gap thing. You're like keyboard mouse players are up here competing, controller players down here competing.
They had a controller league in Rainbow Six when it first came out on Xbox 360.
yeah.
Actually, was it?
Same
was
with
a thing.
Apex. Actually, they had. I competed in the
Yeah.
CGL. I think a console gaming league.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty big, and as soon as ALGS announced, they made it PC only for the first 2 seasons, and then that's why I bought a PC, and then they allowed when cross-platform came into the game. Let's see, when was that fucking D-Day? Season 7 or 8, everything changed.
Yeah.
Like they allowed console into ALGS, CGL died, and but I remember I love console leagues. I think it's fucking great. Like I think that's a phenomenal thing. But
See everybody
think,
play Firelight, talk about it. Hey, new side quest.
I do think that both.
Farlight.
I will say though that Apex did one of the most egregious things that I've ever seen done into a game, which is only allow crossplay to be enabled or disabled from one input, which is console. Console's the only.
That's weird.
You can't turn crossplay off if you're on PC. You are forced into the lobbies, and I think they knew that like the mouse. They knew mouse and keyboard. You're like, what the? So, just real quick, like Apex has different aim assist values for console players versus controller players on PC. So if you plug in a controller on your PC, you're getting 0.4 of the 1.0 aim assist value. And then console players are defaulted to 0.6 because of their hardware issues. It's a stronger aim assist. And they've never balanced those. They added cross-platform and they never balanced that amount. So console players are noticeably more accurate than controller PC. And on top of that, you can't even disable it. So it's like, yeah, they knew it. They knew it'd be and they have ignored it ever since.
Fucking cheeky bastards, dude.
I've never seen a game do crossplay from one direction. I've just never actually seen that. You guys may know other games that have done it, but I've never touched a game that has only one wayed it before. So
EA gonna be EA. Gotta love it.
EA,
Cool.
gotta love to hate them.
Anyways, this has been great conversation. I still, of course, we could go on with the aim assist controller PC debate for at least probably half an hour more, but I think we should call it. It's been a great episode.
My voice goes out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of dots to connect, and I don't know. I think it all boils down to is like what are the devs going to cater to? Are you going to look for more casual players, or are you going to cater towards your competitive community?
The money. It's always going to be for money. And especially in nowadays, like it's all these big corporate names in the scene. It's always going to be towards the money now. So mouse and keyboard's dying race is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, dude, just give me that multi-directional treadmill, dude. It's over. It's gone. I won't ever leave my room.
I'm gonna look into that controller with the touchpad. That's an interesting thing. My biggest dislike about it is it would probably feel like I'm trying to play a mobile game, like with one side of my hand, like because it just kind of I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I'd have to see how the input is, and the sensor feels and things like that. But I'm all for touch things being the next big thing, and I like an analog stick, but that thing seemed really interesting.
Yeah. Definitely worth a try.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
Alright.
the
I gotta
Steam Deck's
fucking
got a lot
pee.
of
Holy
people.
shit.
oh my God, Juice, go
Holy
pee.
shit.
All right.
No.
Oh, he already threw in his link
holding-
tree. He's ready.
I'm holding
He's ready.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Fuck it.
Hold it until we fade out.
Rue, feel free to drop all your socials in
Yeah.
the chat. Thank you all
Oops,
for
that's not
joining
my
us
fucking
today.
social.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that- that's
I'll
not
link
mine.
afterwards, but I'm happy to go into a little. I do coaching. If anyone needs
There it is.
FPS optimization, I do anything from lifestyle, habits, posture, sleep, aim, in-game mechanical improvements. Pretty much anything that you can think of FPS wise. I've been there. I've improved at it, and I've gotten to where I am. So I'm happy to help you along the way. You just let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Discord. You Need Rue is on Twitter. Pretty easy to remember.
Come make me a better aimer, please.
I will. I will do that. I'm helping out a couple people right now, and I'm happy to add to that. Always here.
Thank you, Rue, for joining us. Great
course.
episode 12 in the bag. Love you guys. Thank you all for joining in. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Let's see, when is the next spotlight? I think we're going to do spotlight on the 29th. So no spotlight on the 15th. We'll be back for XP share on the 22nd. And then another episode of spotlight on the 29th. If you haven't joined the Discord already, feel free to hop in. We throw in all the updates there. And we're going to let Juice go take a piss. Love y'all. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Rue, love you.
Love you
Bye,
too,
Jack.
bro. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.